it looks like. So you see it shows like, recent absentee voting changes, the current laws that are in place so that you're not behind or quoting, old laws that aren't being used this year because of COVID. And there's another tool called We Can Vote, which is similar, but it also publishes articles that are referencing these, state election changes so that you can, refer back and say, if someone like calls you out and is like, that's not true, you can like publish the article and be like, here's where this says that this is true. And it also is run by health and civic experts. So it's tailor-made for COVID-19. Democracy Works is also tailor-made for COVID-19, but this one is like run by health experts. So you can see here, like, these are like links to official updates and guidances from like the governor of Alabama, and it shows like the most recent updates and deadlines, and like it's in a timeline. This is actually a brand new tool that SLSB created last week, and it's voter registration guidance for different scenarios for different students. Because normally students have the option to register to vote at home or at school, and it's up to them where they choose. It doesn't make that big of a difference which one they choose, but this year, where people register to vote makes a huge difference. Can mean the difference between them getting to vote and them not getting to vote. So my colleague made these voter registration scenario guides to help you navigate and assist people as they're registering to vote. And I also included a downloadable link for them, so like you'll have like the graphics themselves. So this is kind of just an overview and some FAQs, but then I also have a flow chart for if you're an incoming student or if you're a returning student. So the situations are different based off of either one, and these were created with a lawyer. But there is at the bottom that they're not state-based. So like if this does not align with Oklahoma's laws or whatever state you're registering the person from's laws, I would just, if you are concerned, if you know a lawyer or if you want to talk to a person at your campus that you think has like authority, talk to them about that. Don't go solely off of these, but these are just guidance so that you can kind of, help assist people make those decisions for themselves. So now that you have all the tools that you may need to register people to vote, the next step is registering your friends to vote. In a digital world, relational organizing is key, but what is relational organizing? Relational organizing is the ability to mobilize those in your community through personal relationships. Usually, when we're doing this voter registration work, we're sitting in a public area on campus, we're tabling, we're going to classrooms, we're meeting with different orgs, but that's gonna be so much harder this fall because nobody's really doing things in person. And so it's gonna be up to us to mobilize the people that we know to get excited about this election, and also to, become organizers themselves. A volunteer reaching out to someone that they already know is more effective than a volunteer reaching out to strangers. If you get a call from a campaign organizer asking you to vote, it's a lot easier for you to ignore it, assuming that you even pick up the phone, than if like your best friend texted you and asked you to vote. And once you've engaged a handful of them, ask them to mobilize their networks too. There are plenty of ways to do relational organizing, and I encourage you to find the method that works best for you and your relationships, and that is the most effective for your networks. I think text banking is a really easy one, and it can be done on any platform. It doesn't just have to be iMessage or SMS. You can do it on Facebook Messenger. You can do it on Instagram DMs. You can do it on GroupMe. But I think that it's the most easy because people can ask you questions directly, and they know that you're there as a resource for them. You can also, like, if you're in any orgs that aren't directly civic engagement related, just go in and drop a couple resources. Like, it doesn't have to be a one-on-one conversation. It can just be like you being a presence in the orgs that you're part of as like a resource for people that know that there's an election coming up but don't really know the next steps. You just showing them that like you can answer questions, you can help them do that work. And then also social media. We've seen in the last couple of months how social media has helped mobilize millions of people across the country just through like Instagram stories and Twitter retweets. And you can do that within your own networks. You can create content that people can share in their networks, or you can just share content from national networks. And I'll go through some of like the ways that you can do this. And I know that it seems scary to just text people out of the blue and ask them to register to vote, but if you create a script, it's a lot easier. And so I'm going to help you get started on building your script. So the way that you build a script, you start with an intro. Make sure you say their name so that they don't feel like, you're just copy and pasting, and, it's your friends that you're reaching out to. And so you want to like address them and let them know that like you are actually thinking about them. You're genuinely wanting them to get engaged, get excited about this election, and remind them that there's an election coming up. Don't just tell them, just remind them, ask them if they were aware. And then next you make your ask. Your ask will vary based on the part of the election cycle that you're in. But some of the general asks are you registered to vote at your current address? Do you need help determining where to register to vote? And that's when you can bring in, those voter registration scenarios to help you guide them in determining. You can ask them questions from that graphic. Or do you need help requesting an absentee ballot? Once you get that answer, provide them with the resources that they need to be confident. Feel free to use any of the resources I'm providing, but also if you find something else, you find another resource that you like more, feel free to use it. These are the ones that like I feel comfortable, sharing with y'all, that I know that they're accurate and that they work all of the time. But if you find, I know that there are a lot of great resources out there, and there's new resources being made every day. And if you feel comfortable just sending them the Oklahoma Secretary of State's website, like that's good enough too. I just know that these ones that I shared earlier are like well-rounded, and also a lot of them send text updates because that's just what students need. They need to be texted and reminded to do something. And then finally, if the person that you're talking to feels really receptive to your message and excited to like do this work, ask them if they want to register their own networks. Make it seem like a low lift, that they just need to text 3 to 5 friends and provide them with the script that you're using. Vote for Astra, which is one of our coalition partners, has a bunch of really good sample scripts that you can check out to model your script after, but I'll show you an example, kind of how this would go. I made a fake conversation for y'all. So you would just text your friend, hey, are you aware that there's an election this year? Yeah, what day is it though? It's November 3rd. Oh, this is going quicker than I thought it would, sorry. It's November 3rd. And then and then you ask, are you registered to vote? Make it seem like it's a conversation, like you're generally just trying to understand where they are in their civic engagement journey. Nope, it's my first election, which is true for a lot of people that are in college right now. They've never voted before, or they voted for the first time in the midterms, which is a lot different. And they probably voted in person and not by mail. And voting absentee is so much more of a lift than voting in person. They're similar lifts, but a lot of these people are just it's not their priority. And so by being their friend and encouraging them to do this work, you're showing them it's a priority for you and that it can be a priority for them. And then send them a link. I use TurboVote as an example, and then you can tell them once you sign up, they will help you request a mail-in ballot or help you find your polling location, which is super easy and really helpful. And then, so the next step is relational organizing with social media. Like I said earlier, you can follow national groups or local groups and uplift their graphics or information about upcoming elections. Some that I follow, even with my personal account, is SLSV Coalition. I do run our Twitter, so that's just a personal plug. But also Rock the Vote and Campus Vote Project have really, really good young people and student focused information, so that like I put probably Rock the Vote's Instagram post on my story like once a day, just because it's really well tailored to like a young audience, and they're able to put things in like a messaging that I think will attract like my friends and like the people that follow me on Instagram, and like I like use that to mobilize my relationships. And so you can also create your own content using local election information. If you have like right now, so I'm in Louisiana, and we have a Baton Rouge mayoral race going on this week. And so I'm going to literally go vote when this is over. And but I haven't seen anything about it on like national social media because it's just my local area. And so I could create a graphic with where to find your polling location, dates, early voting dates, like absentee ballot deadline requests, and I could share that with my network. Like a couple of my friends have done that. I've just been sharing theirs. And using websites like Canva, a lot of these graphics are literally just made on Canva using Canva templates, and it's so easy. And Canva is free unless you want like a very like fancy pro like add-ons, but Canva's free. It makes everything look visually pleasing, and because they have the templates, like you don't have to be a graphic designer to make them. And then I've been seeing a lot of people using platforms like TikTok and Twitter to like get their information out to more of a general audience, not just like their relationships. And I think that has, that's worked really well to kind of bring in, a younger generation and a younger crowd. Like I said, and also if you see this stuff on your story, if your friends see this on your story, they're going to trust that information more than if, they got a sponsored ad for the same information, because they know it's coming from you and they trust you. Before I move on, if anybody wants to speak up, I want to know what your campuses are doing to reach out to your campus community. If anyone has any ideas.
I just talked to someone, one of the student panelists was from my university, and we do a lot of tabling events for voter registration. But she said this semester they're having to change it. Obviously, we can't do like tabling or anything. So they're doing QR codes that students can just come by and like scan really quickly. And it just sends them to a website with all the information, and it doesn't waste trees and pamphlets and stuff like that. And so that's how they're thinking they're going to do their voter registration this year.
Awesome. Yeah, we did something like that in 2018 at LSU, and we worked with IT to get them. I don't know if y'all have like TVs like in like the dining hall and in like the like union. We like worked with IT to get one, so like it was like sliding, like showing different stuff, and one of them like had our QR code, and it just like said register to vote really big on it, so everyone on campus had access to it and could see it. And you'll see I have a couple of ideas. So working directly with your campus administration can help you get the most digital information to the most amount of people. I know that's not possible at every campus, and like your administration or like your Office of Student Life might not be receptive, but at least you could try. You could reach out and ask them if they're interested in sharing this digital information. Because like you said, Hannah, is you can't table, so you can't reach people that you don't know unless you're working with someone on campus. And so here are a few different options that can help you like get started. So at LSU, we have this thing called Tiger Link, which is like where all of our organizations have to go register. And like if you're in an organization and like you need information from it, you like go to Tiger Link. And we worked with the Office of Student Life so that every time someone got on Tiger Link, until they like registered to vote, it kept asking them if they were registered to vote. You can do that with TurboVote. And so it would just pop up for everyone. And they reset it like every year. So like once people did it, like it would do it again next year. But these are all like places where you can plug in, especially if you get a campus specific branded version of like TurboVote or Rock the Voter Ballot Ready. You can have like a link to on the university homepage that's just like register to vote or get civically engaged. On all of these different ones, putting election dates on your campus calendar. And then these are ones that you might have to work with, like, your strategic communications office. But honestly, all of these, they're all sending out COVID information already. And if you can work to get that part of the COVID messaging, like you might need to register to vote online this year because there is way less like in-person stuff going on. You can pitch that to your campus communications and say, like, this is important. If the students don't vote in this election, then there isn't student representation for like our district, for our precinct. And so that reflects poorly on the campus, and there aren't people voting in favor of the campus if you get pushback from your campus. But honestly, campuses know that their job is to help support students becoming civically engaged, so they're probably going to be open to these kinds of ideas. But even if they're not receptive, you could always publish voting information in your school newspaper, or have it take out an ad in your school radio station. Those are things that you can do without getting permission from the university. And I linked the student PERG's email template. They create a template that you can send to your university and be like, can you send this email to the students? And you can plug in the dates and you can plug in the information. It's just election day is XX. And so that is a good resource. And then if you need any help crafting anything, you can email me and we can talk about it and we can figure something out. But I definitely think asking your campus to share this information widely is the best first step to getting this past just your direct community and getting it to the campus community at large. But if you don't think that your campus is bought in, or if you want to supplement these efforts with your own peer-to-peer engagement, Vote for Astra wrote, alongside the text scripts that we were talking about earlier, has created a campus canvassing model based off of the political campaigns canvassing structure. So it expands on relational organizing and provides messaging guidance all the way through the election process, past registration, all the way through voter turnout. So they have a really cool toolkit that I definitely suggest y'all read and just see if there's anything in there that you think could be reflected onto your campus. They give you information about how to build a team of volunteers, and then they give you scripts and steps to take to prepare yourself, and then gives you information even if you do social distancing volunteer parties where you all get together and just text a bunch of people, that could mean hundreds of people get registered to vote in an hour, which honestly might be more effective than tabling in a public area where people are just walking by. And so we also, these levels of engagement are optional, and you can also do them simultaneously. A good example of doing them simultaneously is our days of action. The days of action are meant to be supplements to your relational and community outreach, and they are here to support you and provide you with resources and be a place of community. So we have this theme called #VoteReady, and all of these days of action fit into this theme. It's broken down into 3 components: registration, education, and get out the vote. I'll go into them more in detail, but I definitely recommend signing up for all 3 to create a more rounded voter engagement strategy this fall. Campus Takeover is the on-college campus portion of National Voter Registration Day, which is the largest coordinated voter registration event each election cycle. And we partner with, SLSV partners with the Alliance for Youth Organizing and campuses to create events, disperse funding, and provide resources for on-campus voter registration efforts on NVRD. So it's basically directly led by my office, and we just hold webinars, office hours. We provide mini grants to students as they plan their NVRD events. It's actually the first way that I got brought into SLSV. When I was a student organizer 2 years ago, I hosted a campus takeover, and the person who is now my supervisor emailed me with information, which is kind of funny now. But like I said, there's plenty of resources that we provide. Literally the only thing that you have to do for signing up is fill out a survey at the end, but everything else is we send you stuff and then you just implement it, and it's just here to support your work, to make your work easier. And they're doing a lot of work to transition this to be a more digital focused event, because in the past it's been giant parties and pizza parties in the quad and stuff like that, and that's just probably not going to be possible this year. But they're creating fun ideas and fun situations for digital, that their toolkit is coming out in a couple of weeks. So if you sign up, you'll start to get email updates as things start to come out. The next one is Voter Education Week. Voters, especially new voters, don't have like all of the tools, information, and confidence that they need to vote. If they've never done it before, it seems really scary, and it seems like that there's like a gate keeping them from actually doing the work. So National Voter Education Week tries to bridge the gap between registration and turnout, so that by providing education, planning platforms, and targeted campus activation programming to prepare students to vote in both October and November. So SLZ actually is leading this effort, and we convene a steering committee of 15 organizations. A lot of the organizations that I've already talked about that are creating all of this awesome content and create all of these tools are part of the steering committee, and we're distributing that content. So the idea behind Voter Education Week is basically 5 different days of activations. So the first one is making sure people are registered to vote. The second one is making sure people know what's on their ballot and how to access their ballot. The third day is making sure students know how to request an absentee ballot and encouraging them to do it on that day. The fourth day is making sure students have a plan to vote if they're not planning on voting absentee, making sure it's either in person or on election day. And then the fifth day is, scaling up. So encouraging people to be poll workers, encouraging people to do relational organizing like you are. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring campuses in as partners to host programming on all of these days, or on a handful of the days, if whatever is preferred, to bring in students and help educate. We have partners that are creating content like graphics and webinars and Instagram lives that like you as a partner can tap into, and like send the people that like you're mobilizing to like go watch Instagram live, or you can like access the graphics from the website and you can share them on your own Instagram. So I have been really involved in planning National Voter Education Week, and I think it's going to be a really awesome thing. It's new this year. And I really encourage all of y'all to sign up for it, even if you just get on the mailing list and you can see updates as information comes in, and as more tools and resources are published. I think that at least just like signing up is a great first step. And there's, like I said earlier, there are 2 different levels. So you can either be a partner, which is a person or an organization that is making sure that the information reaches the students, or you can be a creative, which is creating information, infographics, videos that the partners are going to send to the students. So if you have anyone on your team or anyone that you know that is like really creative, doing really good work with information, maybe that you want to encourage them to sign up to be a creative, because we are really excited to like get all of these different types of creativity and like help disperse them across the country. So the final Vote Ready activation is Vote Early Day. This year, voters are probably more concerned about how they're going to vote than who they're going to vote for. And Vote Early Day is an activation holiday that's helping new voters understand their full options for voting in person, early, or on election day, or by mail. So this is a day of activation and also action. And with many young people casting their ballots during this holiday rather than on election day, we're kind of looking at it like actual election day this year, because we don't really want people to vote on election day, because that's just going to create crazy long lines, and it's kind of a COVID nightmare if people are actually voting on election day. So we're encouraging people to celebrate Vote Early Day as election day this year. It's October 24th. It's a Saturday. And that date was chosen because every single state has some type of early voting available on that day, either in-person early voting or mail-in voting. So it's a celebration. The initial idea was like it was going to be like NVRD, like with parties and celebrations and campus and like, marches to the polls, but it's like everything else that's happening in the world, it's kind of transitioning to digital, and it's more going to be like a social media celebration and encouragement for everyone to vote early. But we encourage everyone, especially campuses, to become partners so that you can have, like I said, access to the information, access to the graphics. Some of the biggest partners are Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat have been huge. I don't know if y'all saw Snapchat added like a voter registration tool last week. That was through its partnership with Vote Early Day, which is really cool, and y'all should look into it if you didn't. I was just reading an article about it before I got on here. But so there's a lot of different ways to participate with events, parties. Baltimore, who has been like really cool with the space, created a early voting parade for the primaries where like people like got in a car and all drove to the polling place together and like honked at people and like had signs on their cars that was like, I'm going to vote, which I feel like could be a really fun thing to do this fall, even if we're not all celebrating together. And then it kind of ties into the voter education week information as well, with poll worker recruitment and ballot research, just making sure that everyone knows what's going on this fall. So anyway, the next engagement activation is becoming a poll worker. So you've registered your friends and family, you've mobilized your community, you've celebrated these efforts with the country, but you want to do more. And this election cycle, one of the most important things that you can do and that you can encourage others to do is becoming a poll worker. We've partnered with Power the Polls because they've made it super easy to sign up to be a poll worker this election. There are a lot of reasons why students and young people should be poll workers this year, but here's just a couple. I'm not going to read them to y'all, but I think that the best pitch that you can make, especially as you're encouraging other people to sign up to be poll workers, is like, basically all poll workers are like older people and they're just not gonna be poll workers this year. They're not gonna risk their health to work the polls. And if not enough people sign up like now, they're just gonna start closing polling locations instead of trying to recruit poll workers. And when they close polling locations, they consolidate precincts to all vote at one polling location, which is why like in Wisconsin and in Kentucky, you see like those hours long lines. And we just know that like people aren't going to stand in a 3-hour long line to vote, especially during COVID. And especially like when there's like so many people around them, they're just going to see the line and they're going to leave. And so encouraging people to be poll workers like in the next month is critical to ensuring that these polling locations don't close. And also it's a paid opportunity, and it's so you can like encourage people to do it, but then be like, also they'll pay you depending on the state. Like in Louisiana, I think it's like $250 for the day, which is like crazy. And you just have to be trained like once, and I think it's all digital. And then you just show up and they give you PPE and everything like that. Like it's very safe, but it's just easier for young people to risk it than older people. So also another cool thing about it is like if you went to go vote for the first time and you saw someone that was your age or looked like you at the polls, isn't that way more encouraging than seeing someone who's like a retiree and like you're just like, voting is for old people, it's not for me, it's like seeing someone that looks like you and reflects like how you see yourself is going to be way more habit creating than voting and seeing just like a dinosaur, and so it's super easy to become a poll worker, especially using this Power of the Polls tool. So you fill out your information, and then they send your information to your registrar of voters, and then your local election office will get in touch with you and get you information about how to get trained. I've been like, so I can't do it because I'm like going to be working on election day because I like do voting work. But like I've been encouraging all my friends and like a lot of my mom's friends on Facebook and stuff to sign up, and they've all been texting me and being like, I'm already signed up and I'm training next week. And so like literally it happened in one day. So I don't know how your office is, but they're so desperate for poll workers that like anyone can do it. And I honestly think that it's a really cool opportunity. Even just outside of it, I think it's like a cool way to kind of see the back end of democracy. Like, we're doing the forward work. We're like working to make sure that people are creating voting habits, but like seeing like the election official side, I think is also pretty cool. So finally, if you've made sure your campus has sustainable and voter registration and engagement just beyond this election, you can institutionalize this work through a program called Ask Every Student. Ask Every Student is run out of the SLSB Coalition. It's our highest engagement opportunity for institutions that want to set the standard for student voting accessibility and institutionalization. Basically, the idea behind Ask Every Student is that if first year students are asked if they're registered to vote, they'll likely do it. But if they're not asked, they won't do it. And so creating a system where every student, whether it's during orientation, during move-in week, during welcome week, during any different type of campus-focused community events, registration and voter education are part of that conversation. And what's actually really cool is that Ask Every Student is creating a toolkit to help campuses implement and using best practices from campuses that have already succeeded in this work to reflect that onto your campus. So like, for example, Stony Brook University, which is in New York, has like 98% student voter registration because they like ask every single student at orientation to register to vote. And so they have like these best practices that they're creating into a toolkit. And also they're creating a lot of digital strategies for this fall, especially. So if you sign up to receive more information from Ask Every Student, their toolkit is coming out like in sections. So like 3 aspects of it are coming out a week and then 3 the next week. So if you sign up, you'll get like email updates with that. One thing that's really cool, especially for like the faculty members on the call, they're creating Canvas modules that you can use, like, and you can encourage like your peers to use during class. And like it gives all of the kind of a lot of the information that I just gave, but also like how to register to vote, how to access your ballot, how to find your polling place. And it's like short Canvas modules. But they're also creating a toolkit for like administrators to use as campuses start to close, to figure out like what next steps are to help students like get information. So I know that I gave you a ton of information. So you're definitely, I'm gonna send this slide deck in the chat whenever we're done. But I also pulled all the links to everything that I talked about in the next slide. But if you have any immediate questions, I'm gonna stop sharing. And then if you have any questions in the chat, I'll go and respond. But also, if you think of anything that I didn't talk about today, and like you're like, oh, she didn't cover this, but maybe she knows, just email me. Like I said, my email is in the slide deck, and I can give you whatever you need. So hold on, I lost you for a second. Cool. So I'm done. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. How do people sign up? Yeah, so all of the, I don't know, especially Melanie, especially what you were referring to for how do people sign up, but basically all of those links, like if there's something that you want to sign up for, the sign up is on the website, and it goes through like all of the like requirements for being a partner for like the different mobilizations. And Ask Every Student, like I think you can just sign up to like get email notifications. You don't actually have to come and Ask Every Student campus if you're like not prepared to take that step. But becoming an Ask Every Student campus would be really awesome. And then I'm just gonna share this link with y'all right now so that you can have them right now. There we go. Alton asked, what did you say National Voter Registration Day was? So National Voter Registration Day is it's a nationwide celebration that not just campuses do. Like they have celebrations at libraries, at post offices, at churches. Like I think National Voter Registration Day has like 5,000 partners. And it's like a day of activation across the country to register people to vote. Campus Takeover is like the campus wing of that. So we're directly connected with National Voter Registration Day. We work with them really extensively. But then we support campuses that sign up for National Voter Registration Day with toolkits, webinars, information, best practices, and then if they request it, funding and mini grants so that they can like buy pizza. And National Voter Registration Day is, hold on, I don't have the date exactly. It is September 22nd this year. So in about a month and a half, which is kind of scary. And do I know if anyone's creating Blackboard modules? I'm not sure. I think so. I think they might be making them for both, but I'm not positive. I also don't know. So I don't know whenever they're going to be available. That's maybe sign up for Ask Every Student, and they'll send you an email with that information whenever it's available. I do know it's the next thing that is coming out. So like I was saying, the toolkit is coming out in chunks. It's coming out next. It might be next week. It might be the next week, but it is coming out soon. Does anybody have any other questions? I know we finished early. I thought I talked pretty fast. So also, like, if y'all just want to, like, we can brainstorm ideas that you can do on your campus, think of ways that we can bring some of this stuff to your campus. We can chat about it, or like anything like that. So which of these tools do you think is going to be the most useful for your work?
I'm really interested to look up TurboVote because I've never heard of it. And I think it would be really cool to send out notifications, because my problem is sometimes it's hard for me to remember. So like I need notifications telling me, hey, don't forget, you can vote early today. Don't forget, like today's the last day to request a ballot. Like, so I think that'll be really useful.
Yeah, so you can actually sign up for TurboVote even if you're already registered to vote. You can like just go to TurboVote and say, I'm already registered, but I want notifications. And then you put in your address that you're registered to vote at. And like, you know, it goes back to a database, and they're able to like pull like your polling location and all of that information. So you can encourage people to sign up for TurboVote even if they're already registered. And if you go to turbovote.org, it's free, like for you to just do it. But like, for example, whenever I was at LSU, we got the paid version so that we could have lsu.turbovote.org. And then we were able to track how many people registered with that link. And that was like the only link that we encouraged the campus to send out. And so like all of like the campus emails, all of like, you know, the QR code, all of the, basically everything that the campus said about voter registration used that TurboVote link. Literally, we had t-shirts made with the TurboVote link on them so that people could like just see people wearing the shirts and see it on their back and go to the link. And so in 2017, we were just doing paper ballots and paper registrations, and then like some like laptops with like the Secretary of State's website, not using TurboVote. We registered 60 people to vote. In 2018, from TurboVote, we registered 3,000 people to vote. So it really, really helps with scale. And you do have to pay for it. We got our student government to pay for it. It's a couple $1,000s because, you know, they have to, they have like a staff member that my staff person, the person that I was connected with, Sarah, I probably talked to her once a week because I was like, what are our numbers? Like, you can have the numbers. My campus wouldn't let students have access to the numbers. Like, it was like a privacy thing. Like, only the administration could have access to the numbers. But if I like asked TurboVote for them, they would give them to me. Does that make sense? And then like, you can also, one thing I forgot is you can, if you like want different organizations to do it, you can create specific, you know, like lsu.turbovote.org/Delta Gamma. Like if you wanted to have like a Greek life competition or like different org competitions, it shows like how many people registered using that link. So that's something that we did a lot of work with. TurboVote is really cool. And I think that it's helped a lot of campuses across the country implement voter registration effectively and efficiently. So how would it go if you're a first-time voter and sign up to work at the polls? I am not positive, but I have seen, so like in Louisiana, you can be 17 or a high school senior to work the polls. So you don't even have to be able to vote to work the polls. I think you just have to be like old enough. But I think that you would either vote like when you first get there, or someone like you're usually the poll workers, you're not the only one. There's someone else, or there's like 3 people at the precinct. And so like someone else would do it for you and you would go vote, and then you would come back and work at the table, or you would like early vote or vote by mail. I don't think like being a first time voter is like going to keep you from being able to be a poll worker. But definitely use Power the Polls. I'll give y'all this link. I don't know if I gave y'all the SLSV code, but if you use this one, it'll show that I gave it to you. And so we'll be able to see how many people SLSV is bringing in to Power the Polls. So does anybody have any other ideas, or did any of this spark any excitement? Any of these like make you think we can do that? It's not as hard, because it's really not that hard. Like it's getting the information, you getting to know like what you can do, what you can use. And if there's anything that I didn't talk about that you were hoping I would talk about, let me know.
Okay, I have a question. So I really like the idea of putting election dates on the campus calendar. What election dates do you think you would put specifically? Like probably like last day for absentee ballots, or like, I know this year it's gonna be tricky. We were talking about like when's the best time to send it in, because they're having all these like mailing delays and everything. So I was thinking like maybe something like that. Also like notifying people, hey, don't forget, like there might be mailing delays. So I was just brainstorming kind of.
Yeah, so I would definitely put your voter registration deadline. I think that is huge, because it varies by state, and some people might not know like that it's happening. Like, okay, so last year the Louisiana voter registration deadline was before National Voter Registration Day. And so we like weren't even able to have, like my friends that were planning the NVRD weren't even able to have a National Voter Registration Day. They had to have an LSU voter registration day, because like they had to like do it before the deadline. But like, so like definitely start emphasizing the voter registration immediately. That is like the most important thing that you can be doing right now, alongside like encouraging people to be poll workers. But the poll workers is more like, you know, like your volunteers, the people that you know are actively excited about this, but you want to reach everyone with the registration. People that you don't know, people that you do know, people like that like you never have talked to before, anything like that. Like we want as many people to get registered as possible. And like I said, like this year, I think voter registration rates are like really, really, really low this year, because no one is thinking about that. They're all thinking about COVID and like the Black Lives Matter protests, and like that's first in people's minds, and as they should be. But it's our responsibility to break through that a little bit and be like, okay, but you need to register to vote in the next month or the next month and a half, or else you can't vote. You can't register to vote in October. Like in October, whenever the election is fresh on everyone's minds and they're thinking about it and they're like, oh, I do want to vote. But for first time voters, they can't, because they're not registered. That's what makes this work so important, is like, we are talking to the people that it's their first time ever doing any of this. And so we are the resources that they need to have a confident mindset going into the ballot, and also to be able to do it. Like, how much would it suck if someone on October 15th was like, oh my God, I want to vote, I have to do it, but they just can't because they didn't register. That's what I always encourage people to do. Like, even if I'm talking to someone and they're like, I don't vote, I don't want to vote, I'm like, okay, well, if you register, you can make that decision in a month if you don't want to vote. But if you don't register, that decision isn't yours, it's the state's. Like, if you don't register, your decision to vote or to not vote is up to the Secretary of State, not you. So like, don't you want to be able to make that decision for yourself? So I'm looking, no more questions. Cool. We can also just chat. I think we have like 8 minutes left, so. What are some things that y'all are excited about doing on y'all's campus, like outside of just digital tools? Like, have y'all been talking through some ideas?
I think that the whole voter education week will be a good deal for my school. I mean, I really don't even remember last year, like any voter registration things, maybe like one day or something, but that was it. I really think that having a whole education week or something, will get people interested in it, and setting up, tabling in our student center, or getting, out on social media, because our school is really small. We're just a small, community college. So I think it'll be that education week will really get out to voters, because everybody goes, almost every student comes into one certain building. So if we can, really set up and hit hard there, I think we might be able to really get people to register.
Awesome, Alton. And I think TurboVote has a community college reduced price right now, because they're wanting to get to more community colleges because they've been focused, more on four-year institutions. So I would really look into the community college price. It's like it's very reduced.
Yeah, I'm trying my best, because being going to be harder, I guess, than your bigger university. So just because there's not as many people, and people are coming and going super fast. So hopefully some of these tools I can use will really help out.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of course. And I know that y'all have been doing a lot of other work. If y'all want to go on our website, I didn't even include that in the PowerPoint. We have just resources outside of just digital tools resources. I actually have a resource that I'm going to drop to y'all right now. So it hasn't been updated in a long time. So I was like, I don't want to share it because I just haven't updated it in like 2 months. But we created a COVID-19 just like resource tracker, as like things have been coming out. I don't know, like they're probably pretty outdated, but if you want to like look through them and find things that like might help you, there's like a lot of explainers, a lot of toolkits, a lot of resource hubs, and they're organized by audience. So like individuals, organizers, campuses, classrooms, different things like that. So take a look at that. I also am encouraging you to look at slccoalition.org. I'm going to preface in saying it might be the ugliest website ever. It was made a really long time ago, and it just is not cute. I'm rebuilding it right now. But and so like in a month it's going to be completely different, but for right now it is this. And you can go look at like NCLTS data. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that, but it's data that that campuses can opt into, that Tufts University makes. Wait, did y'all talk about that earlier? I think I saw that on the agenda. Sorry, I'm not, but you can go look at other campuses NCLTS data at our website. Also other campuses action plans. There's more resources. There's some modules there. Like I said, it's really ugly, but also all of the links to the mobilizations are there. Just kind of, if you like lose this slide deck or something, our website has a lot of this information on it already. Not all of it, but a majority of it. So bookmark that. And like I said, if y'all have any questions, if you have any ideas, if y'all want to talk to me one-on-one, if you have any like thoughts that you just don't want to talk about the group, email me and we can schedule a time to meet. Basically my job is like meeting with new partners. We have campus partners and nonprofit partners. So like if you want your campus to be part of the coalition, if you want to start coming to our meetings, start getting our resources, let me know and I can get y'all on our listserv, so that you can have access to that through our emails. How about if you want to get put on our listserv, drop your email in the chat and I will put you in the listserv. But also if you don't, it's okay. Do it quickly because I think I lose this chat whenever we go back to the big room. I'm just gonna email all of y'all after this with a link to the slide deck, a little bit of information, and I'll also add y'all to the listserv. And then if any of y'all want to schedule a meeting with me or anything like that to talk more through your ideas, we can do that at any point. It has really been great talking to y'all. Thanks so much for listening to me talk for an hour. I would hate to do that. But y'all have a great Saturday. Try and spend some time outside, maybe. And I am gonna peace out because I'm not going to any of the other sessions. But it was so great to meet y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.